This podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Check out everything related to Batman and the entire Bat family at the BatmanUniverse.net, including news and original content related to comics, movies, television, merchandise, video games, and more. Also, check out some of the other unique podcasts that TBU has to offer. Consider supporting this podcast by becoming a patron on Patreon. Even $1 can go a long way in supporting this content that you enjoy. Look for a link over at thebatmanuniverse.net to offer your support now. And now, on with the show.
Hi, my name is Peter Tomasi.
Hi, this is James Hyman IV.
Hi, I'm Dan Jervis.
Hey, I'm Dustin Wynn.
This is Jim Lee.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder.
This is Mark Hamill speaking.
This is Kevin Conroy.
This is Tim Sale.
Hello, everyone. I'm Batman, and you're listening to my podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Batman Universe Comics Podcast, Season 12, Episode 23. I'm your host, Ian, and with me I have...
This is Steph.
And this is Theo.
As we have been doing for the last several episodes, I want to ask what my co-hosts are reading or watching. Just a few things that are keeping you busy during this time of Batman comics.
I have been catching up a little bit on Red Hood, which was good. Readable, I guess. But I've actually been working on a couple of house projects. So, in particular, my awesome Pikachu Halloween costume. I made a mask and ears today. So I haven't been doing too much media, but I did watch Enola Holmes the other day, and that was cute. It wasn't like the groundbreaking, amazing thing people are saying it was, but it was cute.
It was a good family movie.
It was cute.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. You know, it's not something that we'll see at the Oscars, but
no, definitely not. But that's about it.
It was good seeing Henry Cavill in a
yeah, he was a nice little Holmes.
Yeah,
he was. People were complaining he was too emotional, but I was like, this is his baby sister. Shut up. He can be emotional if he wants to be.
Yeah, and I can never get too much of Mycroft in any genre. I remember a few years ago, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar actually wrote a comic series starring Mycroft, which was pretty damn good, you know, considering it's a retired basketball player that wrote it. But it was pretty good. Yes, I've been reading Sherlock since elementary school. You know, I got my very first complete collection of Sherlock when I was in the 7th grade.
Oh.
So
it's too dry for me. I can't read it.
Oh man, I'm with you, Theo. I love that series.
There's a new anime that just came out called I think it's Moriarty, National Patriot or something like that. And so it stars Moriarty. So I'm kind of interested in giving that a check. Because that seems, I don't know, hopefully don't make him too nice of a guy.
I mean, and also if there are any Sherlock Holmes fans who are also comic fans out there, Titan Comics has a series starring Irene Adler. So, you know.
Yeah, I've been seeing that at the store.
Yeah, Sherlock's Boo even have her own series now. I think it's maybe issue 4, issue 5 that's currently out.
Sounds about right. But what have you been reading as well, Theo?
Nothing. Theo is still living out of boxes.
All right, Theo and the Great Move.
Yeah, as Theo completes the Great Move. I was expecting my desk to come in today for my office / Batman cave. But, of course, it was too big for the postal worker to carry on her own. So I'll be picking that up tomorrow. And hopefully by week's end, especially since I'll be home alone on Halloween, I'll be able to get some stuff together.
I think it was 2 Halloweens ago. I tried watching the Dark Justice one with Constantine and Batman and not Katana. Zatanna. And I forgot how many bad words there were in there, and the little children were coming to trick or treat, so we stopped watching it because all the little babies kept coming to our front door.
You didn't know that was rated R?
I did, but do you know how you don't realize how awful a movie is till you watch it with your mother, and you're like, oh, I forgot. I'm so sorry, I forgot about all the boobies. So that kind of happened, yeah.
Yeah, these comic movies, animated movies, got real bold after Deadpool.
Was that after? Yeah, I guess that was 2016.
Yeah, I think it was right after Deadpool.
Big mistake. Don't do that. If you're gonna let kids come to the door.
So
Trick or treating this weekend, y'all?
no.
I need to figure out how to socially distance throw the candy at the children without actually chucking it at their heads.
Why don't you just like wear a mask and stuff?
I did. Oh, I made a Pikachu mask. It's awesome. Yeah, I might just do that.
Or just leave a bowl of candy at the door. and
That's
say, "Don't
not actually better because then everyone's sticking their hands in it.
Yeah.
I don't care. I've been. My daughter's grown and gone, and so I don't have to worry about none of that anymore.
So I've been reading some books from the library. Elisa Whitney, who's known as a comics editor and writer, she did the Convergence Batgirl miniseries. She did a couple of steampunk romances. One of them's based on Frankenstein, and so I checked that out. It was kind of cool. Also been reading a kid series of books called Incorrigible Children about some kids who are raised by wolves and their governors, and that's kind of a funny sort of kids' take on Jane Eyre. That's pretty interesting that my family's been reading. And I also had a comic sale at my local comic shop and picked up a couple of mid-2000s trades, actually early 2000s trades. Ravager Fresh Hell by Sean McKeever. That's a Teen Titans backup collection that is very hard to find these days. And also, I picked up JSA versus Cobra. I haven't finished rereading that yet, but I'm very excited because that's the sort of conclusion to the Checkmate series that Greg Rucka started, and it's by one of his friends, Eric Troutman. We do have a little bit of news. DC has decided mutually with what's the other one? UCS, the second comics distribution service that it deployed when it broke ties with Diamond Distribution. And now only Lunar Distribution has a setup with DC. So they're solely distributed by one company. This does leave us in a better position than we were before the pandemic. Diamond no longer is the only comics distributor. We have Diamond and Lunar. It is a little less positive than I was hoping. I liked having three because they'd all sort of compete and try and get better and try and innovate with technology, because a lot of the stuff is still really not super well digitized and automated. The rumors seem to be that UCS was not finding the distribution business as profitable as they hoped, so it doesn't sound like DC was unhappy with the service, that it was more of a mutual decision. They also instituted a $500 minimum per store, which is fine for most physical stores, but I've talked to my local comic shop and they said that it is causing some problems if you're a digital storefront. So if you're a digital storefront, you're going to have a lot fewer units sold, so meeting that 500 could be a bit more difficult. So I didn't know that because I've always bought from a physical store, which has always had a big enough order to meet 500 quite easily. Do you guys have any thoughts on our the exit of UCS and going down to just Lunar as distributors for local comic shops?
Well, hopefully they will start releasing sales numbers again, so someone could have her sales number article job back, because I enjoyed doing that, and there hasn't really been any numbers released by both LCS or whatever it was called, the other one, or Lunar. So maybe going down to one, they'll release those numbers, maybe.
Yeah, I've personally heard some shops complain about issues with UCS and some of the charges that they may have been putting on the front end. But I don't know. I because of where I live, of course, I don't have a LCS close to me, so I am a DCBS customer, which is of course Lunar, so it doesn't affect me much at all anyway. Like Steph, I hope that by DC having one distributor now, that we could probably start getting sales numbers again, accurate sales numbers at least, so that she can do her charts and things of that nature. But also, it gives us, as podcast hosts, an idea of where some of these books that we cover are going. Because that is news. When those things are available. I think what DC ultimately was looking to do was to try to force Diamond's hand with regards to upgrading their infrastructure. A lot of stuff that Diamond does is stuff that they've been doing for decades, and you can see it in the service that they provide, as well as the complaints from some of the shops that have dealt with Diamond over the years. But I hope DC knows what they're doing. A lot of people are blaming the other distributors, be it UCS back then as well as Lunar, for what's going on. But I hope everyone understands that this is DC making these decisions. DC is making the $500 minimum order. So DC is putting a lot of this stuff in, and I just hope they know what they're doing, and they don't put their foot in their mouth running back to Diamond at some point in the future.
Excellent commentary, Theo. I think you're definitely right, and I also hope that DC's being thoughtful and innovative in the way it approaches its business, because we need innovation in comics, because the world has been changing for quite some time, and because we've been stuck in this monopoly distribution system, it has not been changing for comics nearly as much as it should be. Okay, so let's get to our comic reviews. Of course, we have our normal Batman number 101 and Detective Comics number 1029 to review today, starting with Batman number 101.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
Written by James Tynion IV, drawn by Guillaume March. Batman and Catwoman talk on the roof, Batman remembering the past, with Tim as Robin confessing that he's been doing Batman wrong for too long. Flashback to a week ago, Batman fighting Grifter, a high-tech mercenary, to get into Lucius's building. Lucius tells Grifter to stand down as his bodyguard and tells Bruce how things are going. Bruce is out at Wayne Enterprises, still very rich, but will not be able to be as ridiculously high-tech and destructive with his tools. Bruce leaves Lucius and his kids, Tim, Luke, and Tam Fox, in charge at Wayne Enterprises, and tells Grifter that he knows what Halo is. In the present, Batman tells Selina he's moving into a brownstone in the city, and that they both need to attend to their own business for a year before they can truly commit to being together. Selina agrees, and they decide to spend their last night in a while together in the brownstone without furniture. So, what did you think of Batman 101, our first issue after Joker War?
I have mixed feelings about it, obviously. I like the setup for the slight change in status quo. I mean, when has Bruce ever been away from the Batcave and the mansion? So that's kind of it's a cool change in dynamic without completely changing him as a character. I love the idea of him having to be a little more careful. You can't just fly 3 bat jets to Siberia, and just be okay with them crashing. Like, no, you need to go back and fix those. So I like that. I loved some of the imagery. Like, even if it was just a flashback of Tim, just seeing a Robin in a Bat book again was nice. And this stuff with Selena, I mean, so I like that it was mutual. I like that they still love each other. Stupid. But
Say it.
it's stupid! I can accept it if I have to, I guess, especially since Batcat is coming out next month. Or whatever. Sort of next month. December. And so it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. It's great. Sets up a lot of cool story ideas that will be coming. So it's not even a setup issue. It's like a interlude with spoilers in it, I guess. I don't know. But it was cute. Sort of.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. I'm trying to be happy.
I too am torn. Yeah, it was okay, but I am so not a fan of the, oh yeah, let's just take a year apart so we can each do our own thing. I'm just not feeling it. I truly think that DC may be setting us up for failure come a year from now when they're supposed to meet up and get back together, that either it's not going to happen and they're just going to pray we are going to forget, or they'll each have new interests of their own. And I just need to make sure I'm very clear. If there's any mention of a ship between Bruce and Harley, there will be fights and riots coming from Louisiana. What I did like was the bits and pieces that it seems that JT is laying that's going to lead us into Future State. We see Lucius, basically laying down the ground rules for Bruce and what he plans to do with Wayne Enterprises, and we see that the rest of the Fox family, including Tim now, is all in the fold, and we know that Future State, Ridley's Batman run mini is going to focus on the family. So I do appreciate that JT is laying the groundwork for that, but it's tough for me to truly enjoy the issue despite the great art. But it's tough for me to truly enjoy the issue, seeing that DC just doesn't want to let us have nice things.
I'm a bit more positive on this issue because I thought it was very romantic, and I don't think that James Tynion is interested in playing with Batman having another love interest. I mean, in general, he hasn't actually done a ton of Batman romance, and he likes Batman and Catwoman based on his work in Batman Eternal. So he usually either just doesn't have Batman with a romance, or he has Batman and Catwoman doing their typical, anti-hero versus hero flirtation. That's definitely how he played it out in Batman Eternal. I am with you guys. If we do have some kind of love triangle or anything with Harley or anyone else, honestly, I don't want Batman to have another love interest right now. In this universe, I don't mind it in the White Knight universe or something. You can explore different relationships in different universes. But in this main universe, after so much time has been spent on Batman and Catwoman, I am uninterested in another love interest right now. So if they bring back Talia, or they bring back Julia Madison from the Super Heavy run, or any of that, I will definitely join you, and there'll be Minnesotan riots as well as Louisiana ones.
And Hadley better keep his hands off Selena.
Darn right. I mean, like, I don't mind
that
someone
the
having
cop?
a crush on them, but it better not be returned.
Yeah, that's the cop from Villa Hermosa that seems
Yeah.
to be following her everywhere.
He's drawn too attractive. I don't like him.
He's too attractive. You don't like him.
Danger.
Okay. But honestly, I don't think that's the case. I think that there's a couple of things going on here for me, and looking at it as a fan of the Batman universe of books, including alternate universes. So we've got Batcat coming up, and I think James Tynion doesn't want to duplicate the emotional journey that King's going on. I think you could easily do Batman and Catwoman together in the main universe and in another universe, but I think that Tynion has lots of big plot plans and doesn't want to accidentally step on anyone's toes. And I honestly think that's what he's doing with Ram V too, because he and Ram V are big friends. He passed off Justice League Dark to Ram V and seems to work really well with him. So I think he wants to sort of be respectful to Ram V's space and not do a bunch of stuff with Catwoman in his book that requires Ram V to do a bunch of stuff to, rewrite and stuff. And that kind of coordination, while it's nice for us fans, it requires a lot better editorial than I think we still have. I think James Tynion is trying, but I think this is his compromise so he doesn't create too much extra work for everyone. I also think that just in terms of the plot that James Tynion's playing with, I don't think he wants to compromise the Batman-Catwoman relationship by trying to create drama. I mean, I think all of us have been very frustrated with the constant breakup teases on the covers for the last year, and I would be fine if they stopped doing that and they just were like, they love each other, but they're busy doing their own stuff, so stop with the breakup teases.
One thing the ongoing series is, and this is like everything, TV, whatever, struggle with is once the drama of the couple coming together is done, what do you do? And I think a lot of times, like, one of my favorite shows is Psych. And after Sean and Juliet got together, they really just kind of wrote her as the girlfriend who happens to be a cop. Whereas before that, she had been like a vital component to every episode. So it is long-term relationships tend to be plot poison for a lot of writers. And I think it takes a very talented writer to be able to write a married relationship well in a story. So I would understand maybe Tynion wanted to focus on the meat of the story and not worry about spoiling the Catwoman stuff, especially when other people are writing her right now. So, whatever.
And that's really frustrating to me because I like long-term relationships in fiction and, of course, real life. But I don't see why you couldn't write two people committed to each other as having their own plot lines and goals, but still, spending time in an issue. I mean, they do that with Lois Lane and Superman. They have their own plot.
Exactly. And you also had, Tom King doing his Vision family when he was at Marvel. So it's definitely possible and plausible to do. And I just think DC whiffed at the idea of having that in main continuity because, of course, Batman can't be happy. He has to be this miserable.
Wasn't that Didio though? Wasn't that his philosophy? Or am I confused? Was that?
But I think at that point, the decision was already made that King was off before Didio left.
Oh yeah, that was long before Didio left.
Yeah.
And I honestly, to sort of sidetrack, there was an interview with Tom King where he revealed some of the really drastic editorial interference that Didio personally did to him.
Was that on the podcast you posted the other day?
Yeah, it was.
I need to listen to that.
It's a really good podcast. I think it's Absolute Comics, their YouTube channel, and it's the Tom King interview. It's very good. It gives a lot of insight into what he was dealing with. And it sounds like after issue number 50, editorial just kept telling him to do stuff. Like they told him, okay, so he says, I'm going to shoot Rick, I'm going to shoot Dick, and then I'm going to fix him with Zatanna. And DC was like, nope, he's going to be Rick now. And then they said, then he said, I'm going to have Bane be the final villain. And DC was like, nope, Thomas has got to be the final villain. And so he's like, Okay.
Well,
And
I
then,
remember even before that interview, he admitted that Alfred was gonna be killed and it was gonna be completely immediately fixed, and they were like, "Yeah, no, don't do that."
well, the story there was that he wrote it. It was going to be a scarecrow hallucination. And Dan Didio literally bought the comic from a store. Instead of having the preview copy, he bought the comic from a store, called Tom King and said, Alfred's going to stay dead. And we're like, there are like 4 comic scripts already written, dude. You just made everyone have to rewrite 2 months of comics. This is ridiculous. So I think that there was really... I do think that DC wanted to get a safe Batman, and that's why they've had Tynion come on the title. But I think King agreed to it because there was just so much frustration with what the story he was clearly trying to tell and the story that editorial made him tell. And I definitely feel that.
I have no doubt that it was King's intention to marry those two. And DC, Didio, whoever, got cold feet and said, "Yeah, we're gonna do an about face real quick."
Yeah, and they were like, "King, you can do this thing where they're married in their hearts, but you can't actually have them do anything." Wow, that was a long detour, but to get back to Batman 101, what did you think of Guillaume March's art for this issue?
I tell you what, he redeemed himself from the infamous New 52 Catwoman number, which go into incognito if you've never seen it. You don't want it on your search history or your work computer. Definitely don't look it up at work. But yeah, this was romantic and sweet at the end. Like, he really did some gorgeous silhouettes and just figures. I mean, it's totally still hypersexualized, but whatever. I really like the art. I don't think he really got to what's the word? Like, portfolio his talent like he did at the beginning of whatever it was, Dark Shadows or whatever, Dark Designs, where it was all the bad guys, all creepy, and that really isn't. He's got a limited pool of characters in this one, but I think he did a great job, and it's all very dynamic and wet and shiny, and it was great.
Yeah, definitely. I really loved March's work here on this issue. He's a great person to have as a backup if Jorge is going to be off the title for an issue or two. So I don't want to add too much to what Steph has already said, but yeah, this was beautifully done. I truly enjoyed it.
I really agree. I love the image of the flashback where Batman and Tim are swinging across Gotham. I love the way he draws the love between Batman and Catwoman. And I thought the fight between Batman and Grifter was really cool. Like, you got a sense of how high-tech Grifter is and how skilled and just powerful Batman is. Like, it's a really just cool fight sequence, which is good since it's the only action thing that happens in the whole issue. But
I have to ask though, is Lucius walking around with cornrows?
I think we're meant to see that as the effects of the torture, because we've got so many, scars on his face. I think the hair is also scarred from torture.
Yeah, that was the weirdest thing to me, especially considering Lucius's age. And I'm like, why did it look like Lucius is walking around with many cornrows in his head?
Oh, maybe he's like Ron Glass in Firefly. I mean, not Firefly. Serenity.
If it's not, I'm happy that that's the case.
I didn't notice it. I was mostly noticing his face.
Oh, the scars on his face are just, heartbreaking.
That man has gone through hell for Batman.
He has.
Okay. Next question. What do you think we're going to see going forward from this issue? So we've gotten some teases, both from James Tynion's newsletter and from others' rumors. But from this issue alone, what do you think we're going to see?
Probably more drama with, not drama, more tension, I think, with the Foxes. Because I think Lucius is less willing to be his yes man now. Especially since, he doesn't have the money anymore. No, I like the setups that Tynion has set up, the changes that he set up. And I haven't really been too paying attention to the solicits or rumors. So I'm willing to be surprised. I do hope that we get an occasional cat visit. I mean, that's what they do. They come to your window, knock knock, hello. Do you have some milk? Please, thank you. So
This
hopefully
got
she'll come in.
very
Oh,
detailed.
Oh, you dirty minds! With, like a saucer of water or something. But whatever. Anyway, I just hope she shows up occasionally. That's all I really want.
Can the muscular bat let the pretty cat in?
It's a G-rated show, people.
That's our outtake right there.
Are we? I don't actually know our content rating.
We are meant for the whole family.
Okay. I mean, I don't, I try and do keep us off the harsher stuff, but I think we've had some double entendres sometimes.
Well, those are okay. Kids don't understand those.
All right. So.
Theo.
Theo, what are your thoughts on going forward?
Well, he really likes stepping out on me.
He does. I think he wants to move things along.
I like what's being set up. Again, I think he's leaving a lot of hints as far as what we are going to see in the future with the Fox family. So I'm interested in that. I'm interested to see Sir Bruce and Mr. Grifter go at it some more. Because we know in the solicits that Grifter is going to be around for a few more issues, working for Lucius and Wayne Enterprises. So I am going to be excited to see those two butt heads once again and see the outcome of that. But all in all, I'm also hoping to be surprised, and pray that not everything that's listed in the solicits is all we get. While I don't think the cat will come tapping on the window of Bruce's new place, it'll be interesting to see some guest stars from time to time. But I would like to see how Bruce adjusts to being in the city. He always had the refuge. I'm about to say. He always had the manor to go to for rest and escape, but now he's going to be in the heart of the city. So it's going to be interesting to see how he adjusts to that once he makes that big move.
I think that we know something's going on with the Halo. I don't know if that is Halo the superhero or Halo some kind of technology. I don't know who Grifter's working for. What?
Space Marines. Halo. Space Marines? Never mind. Don't worry about it.
Oh, that one.
It's a genre crossing.
I was very much in the Batman and the Justice League and Outsiders mindset.
The crossover mode.
Bungie DC crossover.
There we go.
I mean, heck, why not? Batman could be a Space Marine.
Yeah, so if we can't get Marvel and DC, might as well.
Clearly, there's something going on with Grifter. Because Batman hints that he has another employer, and there's something going on called Halo. There's also, the ongoing plotline that we know is going to happen with Clown Hunter, because he's clearly mentioned. Punchline's trial is going on. Now we know that's going to start in the one shot. It's coming out next month, but there's also going to be stuff that Tynan said in his newsletter is going to play sort of in the background. And I think that's really cool, sort of like having things happening that will come into prominence later. I like that kind of writing.
Do we know if the one shot will be the start and the finish of the trial, or is it going to be covered in the main line as well?
The hints seem to say that it's going to be covered in the main line as well. I don't know for certain, but that's what the newsletter seemed to imply, that he said it's going to take place over the next year. Because trials do take a long time, and I'm guessing that Punchline's smart, so she's figured out a way to drag it out so she can get the Joker's message out, which is her plan. So those are my predictions. We didn't really find anything out about Ghostmaker in this issue. So we know Ghostmaker's coming, but from this issue, I can't really tell what's going to happen next, unless he's connected to Halo. So that's my predictions. I want to get to our ratings, and I'm going to say ratings out of Batcat Smoochies.
Well, in that case, it gets 5. But 2.5. But like not for lack of merit. I don't know. It's just nothing much happened. I guess 2.5.
It is a 3 for me simply because of the art. The art brings it there. If not for that, it'll probably be a 2.5 as well for me also.
I'm giving this a 3.5, largely because of the art, but also I really liked what Tynan did in terms of the enjoyment on the page. I am concerned.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. I'm a JT fan. But I am concerned. So it's not that I don't share my co-host's concerns about going forward. This issue itself did a lot of stuff that I just enjoyed reading. Over on the website, Scott gave it a 3 out of 5, and I think that leaves us roughly in the 3 out of 5 space out of the 4 of us. I don't know if someone popped out a calculator to get the actual average, but that's my in the head.
I take the half from you, give that half to Steph, so that makes Steph's a 3. So then 3, 3, 3, and 3. Yep, sounds like a 3.
All right. Brilliant.
Take that comment, Matt. Oh.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Okay, so I would like to solicit our loyal listeners for reviews. If you like what you're hearing, please let us know. We have many ways you can reach us. We have TBU at thebatmanuniverse.net. That's our email address. We have our Discord server, which you can find linked at thebatmanuniverse.net on the sidebar. We're always open to questions. If you have any questions about Batman or the podcast or anything, we've got channels for all those things. We have our Twitter at TBU_comics. If you want to tweet us, especially on questions about the episode or answers to our question of the week. If you're a patron, our Patreon homepage has spaces to leave comments, so please leave us there if you have any interesting thoughts as one of our supporters. We also have pages at Stitcher, iTunes, Amazon, any podcast app, really. But Stitcher and iTunes have probably the best place to leave reviews. And if you leave a review, we'll be happy to read it on the air. We, of course, would prefer all 5 stars. But if you have a comment on the review section, we will read it regardless. All right. So let's get to our second review of the night. And that's Detective Comics number 1029.
Detective Comics 1029, written by Peter J. Tomasi, art by Kenneth Rocafort. A mysterious figure in a reflective helmet is speaking to a small group of citizens. In post-Joker War Gotham, the figure, named the Mirror, appeals to the emotions of the citizens in attendance as to the cause of what's wrong at Gotham. He doesn't dismiss the role of Gotham's rogues in their contribution to Gotham's misery, but he also presents the argument that places blame at the feet of masked vigilantes, specifically the Bat family. To make things right for Gotham City, the Mirror presses to the crowd that the family's identities must be brought to light. At Wayne Manor, Bruce continues to pack boxes as he prepares to move away from the manor and into the city, as seen in Batman 101. As he carrying boxes, he passes Alfred's old room. After looking over some photos sitting out and reminiscing over past memories with his adopted father, he decides that Alfred's room will be the last one that's packed up. Later, Batman is giving chase at some robbers who have taken a hostage. As they race through the Gotham streets, someone shoots a rod at the Batcycle, taking out the front wheel. The felons think they've gotten away, but Bruce has latched on to the getaway vehicle with a grapnel gun. After pulling himself in, he disposes of the driver before taking the wheel himself. After taking out the other 2 robbers, Batman stops in front of the GCPD station. A crowd gathers and begins to demand that Batman unmask as he takes off into the Gotham skies. Little does he know that the Mirror is watching from a distance. Later, aboard a private yacht docked at Gotham Harbor, Bruce Wayne appears at a fundraiser for the Nakano for Mayor campaign. He wants to gauge just how much momentum the anti-vigilante sentiment is gaining throughout the city. As the former officer gives his pitch to the members of the 1% that have gathered, would-be robbers seize the boat and set it out on the water with the intention of funding their own campaign. Unbeknown to them, Bruce has signaled for help. Before the help could arrive, however, Nakano attempts to play hero himself, causing Bruce to take some action of his own to keep the mayoral candidate alive. Eventually, the cavalry in the form of Nightwing arrives and quickly takes out the remaining felons. The would-be mayor is ungrateful, however, blaming Nightwing and the others for the cause of his turmoil. Nightwing leaves in disgust. Back at the Batcave, Bruce is going over the events of the evening. He quickly realizes that someone has been in the cave. His black casebook has also been taken and replaced with a blank copy. Other than Alfred, only one other person with access to the Batcave knows about the black casebook and its location: Damian.
So what do you think overall on Detective Comics 1029?
I liked it. I mean, we get a little bit of Nightwing, him gradually coming back into the fold after not remembering anything. We get a teaser of Damian in his old assassin's gear. That was exciting. I'm not a big fan of the mirror. This had a very as Thea was reading it, just really had a strong vibe of the third Nolan Batman movie, Dark Knight Rises. I got skills
like that.
Yeah. Like, I was just thinking of Selena, going like, oh, you can't even get poor like the rest of us. Like, you can't even go broke like the rest of us. Because he at least, he's a millionaire now instead of a billionaire. But I liked it. I'm not, not a fan of Mirror or that whole, but I think reflecting on Alfred, watching Bruce pack the house, watching Bruce on a yacht, I think this whole stepping back from billionaire Batman in the cave thing is giving us a chance to see more Bruce, which is something I've been kind of craving. So hopefully that will also transition into relationship with his adopted sons and biological children and, relationships that I've been so sad that we haven't been getting in these books. So I'm more hopeful about where this book is going than Batman. Not that I'm disappointed in Batman, but now that we have Damian and kind of Nightwing associated with this one, I'm kind of excited.
I am going to channel my inner Steph as I begin this. They got my baby! That last panel, just seeing my boy Damian, and again, everybody who knows me knows that I am a diehard Damian fan, but seeing Damian back in Detective was just such a thing for me. And again, reading the solicits, I knew it was going to happen. We knew Damian was going to come back, and it was going to be, an arc regarding the case book. I didn't think it would be this soon, but I am happy. Damian has gone through a whole lot of stuff recently over the years with certain writers, and of the current slate of DC writers and Batman writers. If there's one person I could see that can fix all that's been done wrong with Damian Wayne, and that's Peter Tomasi. So seeing him on that last panel, and again, Tomasi and I have actually spoken, about this a while back when I met him at a con, and he told me how DC said that he had to keep his hands off of Damian for a while, and now he has him back, and I hope that he is able to use the skills that we have seen him use with Damian over the years, be it Batman and Robin, just to see him fix what's what's been damaged with such a great character. Again, I always talk about, how Damien's just been such a dick in the Batman universe, but he is still a great character. He is my favorite Robin right now. So definitely that last panel just did it for me. But with the rest of the issue, it also brought joy seeing that there is some uniformity in the Batman universe again. We see the aftermath of what's happened in Joker War taking place. We see in 101, Bruce says, "I'm leaving the manor." We move on to Detective, and he's packing boxes. I have been asking for this for as long as I've been a member of the site and a part of the staff, and I'm happy to see that we're finally getting there, and I hope it sticks around for as long as it possibly can, because I just think that brings so much ease to reading the titles, where you don't have to wonder, well, did that happen in Tech or did that happen in Batman? You now have some uniformity in the world of the Bat, and I am here for all of that.
I thought this was okay. I thought it was a little less cliched than the last issue. I thought the last issue was just a little too predictable in the plotting, and it didn't quite have the character connections that make a really standard plot work for me. This one was a bit more interesting, and even though I actually prefer Nicholas Scott as an artist to Kenneth Rockefort in general, I think Rockefort's worked better for this story, this run. I'm not entirely sure why, it struck me better for some reason. Next question, what do you think of Mirror as a villain?
Well, I kind of already answered that. It's fine. It's stupid. I mean, if you're going to be anti-mask, I wouldn't be surprised if it is, what's his name? The guy who's running to be mayor. Tanaka or whatever. But it's hypocritical to wear a mask and be anti-mask, and anything that makes, I don't know, hate and divisiveness and creates a scapegoat that we can blame for all our problems just agitates me. And so I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, in the end, I think the Mirror is just going to be some minor plot point villain that by the end of the arc will go by the wayside, and that there's a bigger story. I am truly hoping that the bigger story is Bruce going after Damien and clashing with Damien over the casebook, and I think even the campaign with Nakano might be a bigger story than the story with the Mirror. It is what it is. I see him dying off the same way the designer did, and what was the other character with the helmet that from Brian Hill's run on Detective? Just one of those guys that's there to move the plot alone, and then once that arc is over, we may never see him again. So yeah, it is what it is.
I tend to agree. I didn't think Mirror was very interesting. His look was cool, and Rockefort drew him really well, but honestly, this is basically the Darkest Reflection villain from Simone's Batgirl way back at the beginning of the New 52. It's not a particularly interesting villain, and because we don't get a lot of depth to him, he mostly just has that cool scene where he reveals all his masks that he's collected, even though those characters are still around. So I don't know what he's doing, if they're just replicas or if they're like old masks from old battles or something.
They're from a costume shop.
Yeah, it just was like a cool scene, but then you realize he didn't actually beat these people, so it doesn't mean anything. Do you think that this issue feels really strongly affected by the status quo shifts after Joker War?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, a lot of the emotional punch came from the fallout, him packing up and reflecting on Alfred. So that was good. Yeah, like Theo said, like the connecting of the two books about where Batman's going to be living, that was good. Batgirl was a little confusing, but whatever. They didn't really. But anyway, whatever. We're not talking about Batgirl. I don't think it's too strongly affected, and I think that's the way it's supposed to be, because it's just kind of, and now it's over, and there's a few rogue Joker people around, and just life goes on with the new status quo, and I think that's fine.
I agree. Again, as I said earlier, I think the ultimate story here is going to be Bruce and Damian, and if it is, I am a-okay with that. But I think we got enough of that emotion, from Joker War to keep things uniform. Again, it's one of those things that I've always wanted to see between the books, and even if all we get was Bruce packing up and moving out, that's okay. If there's a bigger story to tell.
I was disappointed. I would actually like a much bigger status quo shift seen in terms of impact on the citizens. We get a little bit of that with Officer Nakomo running for mayor, and I did really like seeing him having a fundraiser, because that was something I was really concerned about last issue, where he's like, this guy's not even like a detective. He's like a uniformed officer. He's on the street. He's got a very tiny paycheck. How in the world is he running for mayor? And so we've got a fundraiser, so that makes sense, but I still want to know who's making the introductions, who's sort of behind it all, because I feel like there is a bigger plot behind Nakomo than just, his passion to unmask Batman. I think that someone is behind it, and I hope it's not Mirror, because that would be kind of dumb.
I would hate that.
Yeah, it would be disappointing.
Or if it's vice versa. Either way, if there's a connection with those two, I would be disappointed.
Because I like the idea that Nakomo is, an antagonist to Batman, but not a villain. He's got good motives. And if he's in league with a villain, that just kind of immediately poisons the water and is just not as interesting as a genuine conflict of interest. I'm thinking about things like New Gotham, the 2 trade issue follow-up to No Man's Land that Greg Rucka wrote for Detective Comics, in which you have a whole series of plot lines that are spinning directly out of the events of No Man's Land. Whereas this one doesn't feel nearly as connected. There's not a sense of the greater city affected. There's just 1 or 2 characters. So I just kind of wish that Detective Comics was taking more of a Gotham-level look instead of focusing quite as much on flashy supervillains. Let's have some, corrupt land developers or some gang action. I mean, Batman's fought enough cults. Let's have him fight some gangs now. But I don't know. I felt that this was a little bit of a missed opportunity in terms of setting up that status quo and how it's different from before. Because I feel like mostly this issue could have been written before Joker War as well as after. Last question, I think I know the answer, but was the Damian tease at the end of the book the best part of the issue for you?
Yes, it was everything to me. I love him. Ugh. And he's in his old suit, so it makes me worried about his state of mind. Is he eating okay? Is he with his mom? Where is he? I'm fine. It made me very excited. I'm very excited for next issue.
Yeah, I am definitely man crush for Damian. So it was great to see him back and to see that he's going to be interacting with his dad again, even if it's going to be a little violent in one way or another. So yeah, and if anybody got any problems with that, schoolyard, 3 p.m. after the bell rings, meet me there.
So for me, I don't know if it was the best, but it was a really nicely done tease following up on the tease about Black Casebook in Detective Comics 1027. So I am excited to see what's going on with Damian next. And Bilquis Evely, I think, is going to be doing the art soon, and I'm a big fan of her stuff. So what do we give Detective Comics 1029 as a rating out of 5 Bat Masks?
Well, it had Damian, and it had Nightwing, and it had emotional Bruce. So I think personally, I probably liked this better than Batman. By no fault of lack of merit of Batman. I think I like this better. So I'll give it a 3 out of 5.
So before I give my rating, I just want to give kudos to that variant cover that Lee Bermejo did. I'm typically not the biggest Lee Bermejo fan, although I loved his work with Batman Noir. But big props for that variant cover. For me, yeah, I definitely enjoyed this better than Batman as well. The only thing that kept me from making this book a 4 in my review was the art. I'm okay with Rocafort. I like his art, but in the current rotation of artists on Detective, he's my least favorite. Brad Walker being my favorite. So because I wasn't all that crazy about the art for the issue, I gave it a 3 out of 5. 3.5 out of 5. I'm sorry.
I think I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. It was average, but it's still not pushing the story or the status quo or the characters forward in the way I'd like. And the tease, while cool, it was literally just a teaser for the next book, so it doesn't really add to the content of the story of this issue. So I am excited for next issue, but that doesn't really affect my rating. So that's a 2.5 out of 5 for me, and I think that gives us, again, another 3.
Steph, you distract him. I'll push him down the steps.
We're allowed to have different opinions, even if we're wrong.
Apparently, we're allowed to have different opinions with broken legs.
That was Ian's bad take of the episode.
I just am so full of the bad takes. And by the way, that was a reference to our Deceased cast. Please do listen to our take. We're recording episodes every month about the Tom Taylor penned series Deceased and all its spin-offs. And it's been a lot of fun, so check those out. Let's get to our listener feedback really quickly.
Sorry to interrupt, Master Booth. Ringing your phone now. This needs my attention.
We just had 2 quick takes. Caspian on the Discord said, Batman Begins is also my favorite, in response to our little anecdotes about the movies last episode. On Twitter, Tsukikara1203 said that she liked Joker War, but they wish that the Joker had died. And quite honestly, I've been wishing the Joker's dead since No Man's Land, so I feel you there. We do
That's a pretty long time.
Well, I mean, I actually didn't read No Man's Land until like 2006 or so it's only about 14 years, but still, 14 years of wanting him dead.
Yeah, I read it when it came out, so I'm like, that's a long damn time, Ian.
20 years
to want somebody dead.
I mean, it's the Joker. He just keeps killing people. I think it's okay. All right, so let's get to our question of the week. What is your unusual team-up book that you'd like to see in the Batman universe? So this rules out your standard things like Batman and Robin, or even any of the Robins, or my favorite team of Batgirls. I'm going to give an example, and that's The Signal and Batgirl. So that's a team-up that we haven't really seen, and this would be Barbara Gordon Batgirl, because we've seen Signal and Cassandra Cain teaming up a lot. So that's an example. Now, my team-up that I'd really like to see is I'd love to see the We Are Robin gang teaming up with the Huntress, because Huntress is a former school teacher, and I think she could have a really interesting dynamic with the We Are Robin kids. So that's my unusual team up that I'd like to see. What about you folk?
Wait. Are you going Grayson Bertinelli Spiral school teacher, or?
I mean, Huntress has been so Bertinelli Huntress has always been a school teacher. She was a school teacher in the 90s.
Right. But you got to be a little bit specific now, because, you know.
I mean, I'm kind of treating them as the same character. Doomsday Clock makes it legal.
I'm not too creative.
Create a question. So this is limited to characters within the Batman universe.
Yes, they have to have some connection to the Batman universe. So anything directly like Superman, that's a no. If it's like a liminal character, I might allow it, but you have to make a case for it being Batman. So nothing like World's Finest or a Wonder Woman Batman type team up. None of that.
Because I was going to say, since Harley, she doesn't have a book anymore, right? And she's not on Suicide Squad, and Jason is all by himself. So I was thinking an Outlaws Jason and Harley book would be pretty fun. And I think Damian should join too, but I think that kind of breaks your rules of the Robins being together. So Jason and Harley being outlaws together, I think would be
really interesting. Although I don't know how on board Jason would be with someone who stayed with the Joker for so long.
I think it would add an interesting dynamic because they both want him dead. So
Yeah, they both want him dead. So I think it'll work out. Okay, so I think our illustrious senior editor will enjoy this one. But I'm going to say Batman and our good friend Bobo, Detective Chimp.
Yes. Oh, that would be the best thing.
Oh, you're just pandering to Dustin now.
Yeah, but I and it's funny that you asked the question because I on social media someone had actually posted a few panels of their interactions from a previous issue where, Bobo figured out where Bruce was just by, knowing his mannerisms for wanting to see the entire city. And the only place to do that was from up above and had to be from the highest central point in Gotham. And, Batman asked, well, how do you know what gargoyle I'll be sitting on? He's like, well, it's the only one that's not smiling. And Bruce is like, what do you want, Bobo? So I would definitely love to see that dynamic expounded on and see more of. So give me a Detective Chimp Batman book and DC can have more of my money.
Readers, let us know what unusual Bat family pairing you would like to see on Twitter at TBU_comics, our email address TBU@thebatmanuniverse.net, or on the Discord. I want to thank our patrons and other supporters. That would be Gerald Green, Joshua Lappin-Bertoni, Rob O, Real No Deuces, Tim Garassi, Robert Lewis, Ian Miller, Stephanie Mounts, Donovan Morgan Grant, Stanton's Grave, Donald Townsend, Ed Grouse, Theodis Wright, Brendan Roberts, Hannah Garr, Captain America, Mary Garrett, Austin Davis, Johnny McCloskey, Sam Isaac, and Cody. Thank you all. You help us keep the servers up for this podcast, and we really love making the podcast for you guys. So thank you for being members of the Bat family. We will be here in a couple of weeks covering Batman 102 and Detective Comics 1030. So looking forward to that. Until next time, thanks for listening. This has been Ian.
This is Steph.
And this is Theo.
And stay safe, Batman family.
Any more updates on whatever, Days of Future Past or whatever?
Not much on Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past.
Oh man, DC needs to figure out how to get that DC Days of Future DC Past or something branding.